Hey, also Nitro RC Nerds here, and this is our current projects, our current Nitro RC projects for the week of July 4th. Happy Independence Day to everyone. The intent behind this video, if you haven't seen it before, is really to give you a quick snapshot, hopefully a quick snapshot, of what it is that we have going on with respect to the cars that we maintain, specifically one guy maintains, that would be me. And additionally, to solicit feedback, so if any of you are an expert in a specific domain that I'm going over, you have suggestions, hey, it's all about learning. That's what this entire hobby is, for me at least. On the flip side, if I mention that I'm going to be doing something and you would like additional information, or perhaps even request that I roll some footage while I'm doing it, I'm happy to do that as well. It's all about helping each other out and making sure everyone has the best experience with this hobby. With that, let's get started. That's from my 810 here. Believe it or not, there's still a few things I need to do to it. I am going to be celebrating 4th of July, though, by firing it up and giving it a light run, if you will, just to kind of get my feel for the setup. Because obviously, anytime you make the number of changes on here that I did, you know, there's going to be some characteristics that no longer handle like they did, and I either want to embrace those or get those back to where they were. The immediate need, however, is both of the outer hinge pins on the rear carriers are they're bent, and I didn't want that to hold me up during the rebuild, but before I even put it on the track, I definitely need to get 2 more of those, so I've got those ordered and on the way. So I want to do that and get at least 30 minutes of runtime with it. Hopefully, 30 minutes on the track, and then from there just go and I'm going to break it down again. I want to check the diffs, make sure they're not leaking. They probably are. If so, I've got a plan. I'll just rebuild them completely and throw in some heavy-duty diff cases, and check the clutch, just kind of the general maintenance that you would do anytime you make the number of changes like I did. And then we have the body, and this is actually a stock body. I just had an additional one, and I really like the color scheme. I like everything about it. The only thing is that it's missing its stickers. I took the stickers that were on there and I put it on my ramp, just because I'm really not big into putting product stickers anymore. But I started thinking about it, and I really do want this thing. I mean, I want people to know this is an 810. I'm not ashamed of that in any way, shape, or form. So I thought, man, I really got to get some 810 stickers. The problem is you can't buy them individually anymore. So I thought, well, maybe I can just use this right here and put them on there like black. I don't think that would look good, because if you look at the stock body, I mean, I like that right there. You see, you got 810, you got a little low-C pride going around the curb right there. I really like that. So here's what I'm going to do. I thought, well, if I can't put any stickers on it, what I will do then is I'll just get like a whole bunch of, I'll get like some Kyosho MP9 stickers to put on here, just to confuse people, or perhaps make them think that I was a little confused. So the plan, which I think will work out pretty cool, is I'm going to buy a clear body for this that does come with the stickers. So what that'll allow me to do is have a new stock body that will be, the original 810, just how it looks, all that good stuff. And then I'll be able to paint the clear body to kind of put my own touch on. I'm not sure yet the color scheme or anything like that, but I'm thinking like, pink and black or lavender, something like that, because this is this thing right here. This is my baby. I got 2 girl cars, this 810 and then the next one coming up. Hell yeah. The 810, it's like the smoking hot chick that's very high maintenance. This right here, it's a big girl right here. This is that mean, tough chick that doesn't take shit off anybody, and you don't want to mess with her. And with that, she's ready to rock. There's nothing I need to do to it. Earlier this week, I went ahead and increased the front shock wall from 40 to 45. So I've got 45 in the front, 50 in the back. So I've got pretty much exactly where I want it right now. We'll see how it pans out, but yeah, there's nothing I need to do to her. She's ready to go get her some. And what I'll do is after this weekend, when I run her really hard out at the track, practicing with her, I'll bring it back, break it down, and inspect everything. But my confidence level is sky high in this ride right here.
You take a mortal man and put him in control. Watch him become a god. Watch people's heads roll.
As for the Savage here, you can remember last week one of my neighbors, I just got it ready for him. He wanted to take it out for a test spin. He's thinking about getting one. So he came over, I got it started, and I was like, hey man, let's do this. Why don't I just take the ramp in the backyard and we jump it? And it was a lot of fun. It was pretty, my wife was making fun of us, two grown men in the backyard jumping a Nitro monster truck off of a ramp. But hey, we loved it. We had a lot of fun. However, here's the result. Yowza. It was fun while it lasted, but you can see here, this is actually the very first thing that's ever occurred to it that's prevented me from running it. But you can look in the back here in this upper arm, there's a shaft pin. I don't know a whole lot about this monster truck yet. I mean, I haven't just totally torn into it, but obviously there's a shaft pin that goes on this upper arm that goes through the suspension block, the rear suspension block, and it came out, came loose. So with that, I have decided that this is going to be my next rebuild, and much of that was based on the slew of responses that I received from a lot of our subscribers on what they'd like to see next between this and the Hyper 7. For your Hyper 7 guys, stay tuned though, because I got some cool stuff coming with that. So this week I'm not actually going to do anything with it, but instead what I want to do is begin researching how I want to approach this rebuild, because here are the goals that I have for the rebuild. First is durability. So I understand, hey, this is a Savage and it's a beast and all that great stuff, but something like this right here, frankly it's unacceptable. So the way I look at it, if it breaks once, if anything breaks once, shame on that. If it breaks twice, shame on me. So in other words, when something like this happens, what you have to do is figure out a way to ensure that A, why it happened, and B, what you can do to bulletproof it so it never happens again. And I'm also interested in other potential weak areas that I'll need to lock down. So if you guys know of any, certainly let me know. But making it just extra durable is the number one goal. The second goal is, I guess, what you call just general maintenance. So, as I go through, I'm probably going to find areas that maybe are starting to show a little bit of wear, and I'll replace it and things such as that. The third one has to do with multiple setups. So as an example, what I want to do is I want to be able to run this both on the road with a specific setup and then off-road with another setup. Give you an example. When I used to have a boat, people would always ask me, how fast is it? And I would tell them it's fast enough. And the reason is I'd be out on the lake and I'd probably be about 3/4 throttle, but boy, that was enough for me. I mean, I was like, I don't want to go any faster than this. And so it's kind of the same thing with the Savage, at least on road. So I want to get two separate setups. Instead of finding one kind of a hybrid setup, if you will, for on-road and off-road, screw it, let's just have two distinct ones. So they're badass on each time. So for on-road, I want to consider the shock setup, the diff, the clutch, the tires, all that. And then the same thing for off-road. Primarily, it will be an off-road vehicle, but I need it to be able to handle itself a little bit better on road because, again, I don't even like to go half throttle because it starts to lose a little bit of control once you do that. So if you got any advice, let me know, but it's something that I'm sure I could swap out pretty quickly. So probably within an hour, I could get it on-road ready or off-road ready. Okay, he's having fun with his grandparents. I know that for sure. With that, let's go over the projects that I need to complete, that I want to complete. And let's just go ahead and start with Andrew's bike.
Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating, so won't the real Slim Shady?
So I met 0 of my goals with this last week because I was so tied up with the 810 rebuild, which I'll get to in just a little bit. But really what I wanted to do is while Andrew was away at camp, I still have this lock grub screw I need to get out, and so it's going to be pretty messy for me to get out. I'm going to use JB Weld and whatever, but I'm just prepared to probably have to replace some parts on it. The other thing that I wanted to do was to take a look and see why it's losing its binding. And I did look at the receiver box, just make sure everything's fine on it. I'm very tentative to troubleshoot this out on the street for obvious reasons, even though it has a fail-safe and whatnot. It's one of those things, what we'll do is when we take it to the track, hopefully we'll go in the next few days. When we take it there, we'll just have to monitor it. I'll make sure the battery's charged, and I'll have an extra battery. And if it's not the batteries, then we'll go from there and figure out what's going on. And the only other thing still on our list, and hopefully we'll get it done this weekend, it's really Andrew's going to be doing it, but we have this J Concepts Punisher body for it. You can see that this body here is, for the most part, almost had it. I mean, it's actually been through a lot. It's held up pretty good, but just time for a new body. And so he's going to be doing a review on the 8.2.0 ready to run here in the next few days, and so probably what we'll do is he'll unveil his new body at that time. For the Soften Hyper 7, there's nothing this week that I need to do to it. As mentioned though, when I do rebuild it, which will be immediately after the Savage, I'm going full throttle on it. I cannot wait. This thing right now is already a freaking tank, and I'm going to tankify it further. Meaning that, man, any aluminum part, anything I can find to just make it virtually indestructible is what I'm going to throw on it. One thing for sure is this engine. I need to look at it and decide what I want to do. I definitely want to replace it. I won't say it's on its last legs, but it's starting to show a little bit of wear. It's probably better served as a backup engine right now. So my immediate thought is to take this 350 off of Andrew's Losi and put it on here. I tell you, this 350 right here, it's no joke. I mean, this thing can move for sure. So I'll be real interested to see how well it behaves on this Hyper 7 right here. And then, of course, what that means is I get to get Andrew a new engine. And now we have this monster right here. I fired it up last evening, and this thing is scary. Well, there are certain aspects about each of our vehicles that I love and embrace. This monster here is the one vehicle that just stops me down at how quick, powerful, agile, durable, smooth. It's interesting because I've never bashed this thing, but one of these days before I rebuild it or something, I'm definitely going to take it to just the nastiest bashing spot that I can find and let nature take its course, because I assure you, this thing can handle it. I'm still trying to learn how to drive it. Obviously, someone with poor driving skills such as myself should really not be allowed to operate a fine machine like this on the track, but I try to go slow. Andrew's always telling me, and better yet showing me, that slow is fast, but I don't know what it is. Just when I have it out there, I hear this B6 engine just kind of, whispering out to me, more, give me more. And then when I punch it, it's just like, hell yeah! I mean, this thing it's wicked, and it's definitely ready to rock and roll. I mean, you want to see it, just listen right here to this engine. All right, so after my next practice with it, I'm going to definitely break it down and service all the parts. The only thing that concerns me right now that I definitely want to keep an eye on is the fact that yesterday I checked the gear mesh, and I was like, what the hell? Because there was about 1.5 millimeters worth of play on the clutch bell, and I know for a fact I set it to about 0.5 millimeter. So I took the engine off, and what it was, the cap screw that's on the drive shaft was loose. It wasn't real loose, but it was loose enough to give it some additional play. And there are obviously, there's differing opinions on whether you should thread lock that screw that goes in, into your bell, into the drive shaft. Theoretically, yes, you should, because it is metal on metal. However, for what it's worth, I've never thread locked that on any of my engines, and I've never had a problem. So, my concern is that if that, that's the one screw that I don't want to strip, because if I strip that, you can kiss the baby. And of course, if it does come loose again, then yes, definitely I will go through and thread lock it. It is a cap head, so that will be a little bit easier to get off. But let's see. Speaking of stripped, I actually did strip its first screw, which is really no big deal. Again, this is just what goes down into the steering post right there. It's not needed to take off the front clip or anything like that. So if I have to maintain that, it's no big deal. But obviously, thread locking is a balancing act all into itself. It's something that's needed, but you got to be careful with it. And the more you take it off, the more you have to change your screws. Blah 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 blah. So, anyways, I also made my very first change, if you will, to the stock setup. And what it is I increased the down travel in the front. So you can see right here. Sorry guys, you can see right here. So really the two areas that I'm having difficulties with when driving it is, and I think it does revolve around its power, but it's the rear traction when I accelerate. So in other words, when I punch it, I mean, the back just starts to wiggle a little bit. I got to kind of figure out what that is. The other part is bump handling at high speeds, and hopefully the down travel here. This is the first thing I just want to work on a little bit. Will help it with the bumps. And so I really want to get about 15 laps with this, where the variance is all within 5 seconds on average for each lap. And then I'll begin tweaking the stock settings. I've said it many times. I really think it's important to be consistent before you get in there. Before you get in there and start tweaking too many different things. And that's it, guys. If you stuck around at this point in the video, all I can say is you've got some serious problems. But I will reward you by showing you. This is the very first engine, we call him Barney, that I ever started, and it's a SMT .15. So pretty cool. Long story behind it. Maybe one of these days I'll bore everyone with it. With that, our next video will be a review. Andrew's going to do a review on the Lociate 2.0, ready to run. We get a slew of questions about this. He'll talk about driving it. I can't drive it to save my life, but I'll talk about how to maintain it and the starter box and all that stuff. But cool video. Hopefully we'll have it out Sunday evening. Other than that, have a great 4th of July. Have a great evening. Thanks so much. Talk to you later.